Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial Javeda Bay, and this is my bed. And we are still going strong on our topics of communication this month. And today I want to talk about one that I think all of us can agree can be a little intimidating, and that is communicating during sex. Yes, I mean actually talking to your partner during sex. So let's get into it. So for a lot of people, communication during sex can be anxiety causing because you're like, how do I actually say, like, hey, do this instead without like hurting people's feelings or like killing the mood? Very valid questions, very valid worries. But also I like to challenge the thinking. If you're not going to say it during sex, when are you going to say it? Because the likelihood that you say it outside of the bedroom, like, hey, actually, I don't like the way you finger me, or like, hey, actually, I think that you're a little too rough with like your massaging. Like, the likelihood that you come back to that conversation outside of the actual act is very, very slim. So getting in the practice of actually communicating during sex is going to have so many great impacts for your sex life, which that's our goal, ain't it? So if you're someone that definitely is like, yeah, I don't know, Jave, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. I got you. I always got you. And this one may seem like a weird like suggestion, but practice talking while you're masturbating. And it may seem like, why? No one else is there. Like, why would I be talking to myself during masturbation? And it's to get you in the habit of, one, being vocal during sexual activity, but two, getting used to actually saying sexual related things, like in the moment. Because for most of us, I highly doubt that in our day to day, outside of like maybe being a sexuality professional, you're like, actually, you need to just like go a little bit deeper into the vaginal canal or whatever it might be. It's not really common to like say these things. But if you actually say them during masturbation while you are stimulating yourself, being like, hey, oh, yes, deeper, deeper, whatever it is, but like actually saying it. And if you're like, I don't really want to give direction, but I want to be vocal in some way during sex, start being vocal when you're masturbating. Like, oh, that feels so good. I love it. I love it. Don't stop. Talk during masturbation. Also, like, that's the perfect time to do it. If you're like nervous about somebody hearing you, or like actually doing it with a partner, like doing it by yourself is a great way to like get those nerves out, because the best time to practice something is when you're embarrassed by it by yourself. So practice while you're masturbating. Also, like, hearing your own voice can eventually become something that arouses you. So like, do it while you masturbate. Another important thing when it comes to like communicating during sex is that it can look a lot of different ways. For some people, it's like, I actually just want to like get into a place where I can actually do dirty talk. Some people, it's like, I want to actually offer my partner feedback in the moment. Some people, it's like, I just want to like say things that let my partner know that I'm actually enjoying myself, because typically I'm really quiet when we have sex. There's so many different ways you can communicate during sex, and it's important to recognize those, and choose which one works for you. Also, like, you can rotate in and out of them. Sometimes it's like dirty talk is the only thing I want during this time. Other times it's like, hey, we're trying something new, so like I need to be in a headspace to offer feedback during it. Or like, I just want my partner to know that I'm enjoying myself, because I've been like a really quiet person, and like I just like am nervous that if they hear me like moan, it's gonna like kill the mood. Not gonna happen. But yeah, so lots of different times that you might be communicating, in different ways in which you might be communicating during sex. So it's also good to like practice all those different ways, not just like the one way of like offering feedback, you know? And if you're like, Jay, but what do those other ways look like? Like, I know what dirty talk can look like, but what does like actually communicating with a partner look like? Well, that's one, saying like, hey, can you be a little softer with your touch? Can you go a little faster? Can you go up or down a little bit more? You're a little bit to like one side of the clitoris. Or like, can you like use your tongue in a different way on my anus? Like, try going up and down rather than circles. Like, just like whatever you think might change the way it feels for you, which is also why I encourage masturbation, because it allows you to get to know your body, so that way you can offer that feedback to a partner. So yeah, start to like pay attention to those things, so that way you can offer the feedback. Also, you don't have to be like you don't have to perfectly know the answer. Be like, oh, actually, yeah, you need to go counterclockwise on my clitoris instead. Like, you don't gotta know all that, but being able to offer some suggestions and ways that it could make this experience better for you is gonna make it better for your partner. So practice that. And then in terms of like ways to like be vocal and expressing like that you're enjoying it to your partner during activity, is things like, oh, I like that, or oh, I love that, or things like, keep going, oh, this is amazing. Just like positive affirmation things that just like let someone know like, oh, okay, so they do enjoy this. Don't just pull this out just like to make them feel better in bed. If they're not doing things that actually feel good for you, please communicate like ways to improve the situation. But if you are enjoying it and you just don't know how to show it, being vocal with the, oh, that is so good, I love you, whatever it might be that you're most comfortable with, but be vocal, because that's a form of communication, especially in the act. Also, it can help like your actual intimacy, to hear your partner in the midst of something letting you know that like, oh, this is amazing, this is so wonderful, like I love you doing that to me, feels really good as the partner. So communicate the good, not just like changes you want made. Another important piece is that you shouldn't think of it as like a criticism. Like, you're not trying to criticize your partner when you're communicating during sex. You're trying to enhance the experience. So it's feedback. Yes, it is feedback, but it's not feedback to be like, oh, you're a terrible lay, but like feedback to be like, hey, this could be like upped a notch if you did XYZ, if we did XYZ. So I think that reframe also helps people get a little bit more comfortable with communicating during sex, because when you're like stuck in this mind frame of like, oh, if I tell them that they're doing it bad or doing it wrong, like then I'm criticizing them and like I'm gonna hurt their feelings. No. Especially if you have good communication skills with your partner outside of like sexual activity, then be communicating during the act will be better, because outside of it, y'all should be talking about like, hey, this just isn't working for me in terms of our sex life. Like, so, you know, all the pieces go together is the moral of the story there. And then also, if you're like, Javay, I don't know, I'm still kind of nervous about this, I don't know how I feel about communicating during the act of sex. Okay, totally fine. Then start communicating before you actually engage in sex. And by this, I mean like actually have the conversations of like what you would like to happen when you engage in sex. What is it that you actually enjoy in terms of stimulation? Let your partner know up front to minimize the chances of you having to say like during, like, oh, actually, what can you do? Blah, 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 blah. No. Talk about it beforehand. Talk about it beforehand, and it can minimize a lot of the communication that is needed during sex, and then you don't have to offer any feedback. You could just be focusing on just like letting them know that you are having the time of your life with them. But yeah, we should all work harder to communicate during sex, because that's the only way that we're gonna like have better experiences. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Please, 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 for the love of everything great and amazing in this world, make sure you follow me on social media and sign up for my email newsletter, because that's where the good stuff is. And also, make sure you come back next week, because I'm gonna have a new episode, and we're still gonna be talking about communication. And you do not want to miss it, I promise you. But until then, I'm gonna see you later. Deuces.